Hey, sixth graders. Today we're going to work on turning graphs into equations. We know how to turn tables into equations, so today we're going to look at graphs. We've done a little bit of looking at the coordinate plane, and we're going to see how we can do that to turn our graphs into equations. In order to do that, we're going to, there's a number of ways we can do that, but today we're going to start with the simplest way, at least the simplest way for you guys right now, which is to try to turn our graph into a table. So let's look at it like this. I'm going to give you a graph, and we're going to start with a line. So here's a line on that graph. Now, I want to know what equation describes this line. I don't have any tools for doing that yet, but I do have tools for turning turning a table into an equation. We practice that. The change, how much does it change as it goes up in y? What is the zero case when y equals 0? We can do that. So if we could turn our graph into a table, then we can take our table and turn it into an equation. So in order to do that, we're going to make a table based on our, let's get myself a pen here. All right, so let's look at some points on here. Now I can make a lot of points, but what I want to do is I want to find points where it looks like it really matches. So here's a point right here. Looks like this is a point right here. This is not a point, but when it reaches to 2, looks like it goes to right there, and then 3 goes right here, and 4 goes right here, and I could even go in the negative direction. -1 is right down here. Okay, so now when I look at that, I can look at these, and let's say, okay, so when x equals -1, what does y equal? Well, it equals -2. Okay. We ought to always make sure we include our 0 case in here. So when x is 0, what's y? Well, it's right in the center there, so that is 0 as well. Let's look at 1. 1 goes up to here, over to 2, so it is 1 and 2, and then 2 and 4. And I'm starting to sense a pattern here, so I can just say 3. How much is it going up by each time? I notice that it's going up by 2 each time, so I don't even have to look. I can just know that's 6. And then I can double check. Is it 6? Why, yes, it is. When x equals 3, y equals 6. Okay, so I know this is going up by 2. I've already discovered that. So I already know the beginning of my equation. My equation is y equals 2x. Okay, and then I'm going to look at the case when it is 0. Well, when it's 0, it's just 0. So I could say plus 0, or really we could just drop that extra 0 and say y equals 2x. Okay, not too hard. Let's try one more. Here's another one. This one is another graph. So let's give ourselves a table, and let's give ourselves a pen, and let's find some spots. Well, I always want to know where it is when it's at 0. So this right here is where it is at x equals 0. So should I start there? Sure, or I could start at -1. Let's start at -1. So -1 -1 goes all the way down to -6. So it's -1, 6, or -6. 0 is at -3. Let's see, 1 is right at 0. Keep following the pattern. 2 goes up to 3. You seen the pattern yet? How much is it going up by? 3 goes up to 6. So the point there is 3, 6. This is the point 3, 6. And that is how we put it in here. It would be just like we put it in brackets around it like this and a comma in the middle. That gives us our ordered pair, so 3, 6. Well, how much is it going up by each time? Well, I see a pattern here. Sometimes it's a little harder to look at the negatives, so I can look at the pattern over here, and I can say, oh, well, that's going up by 3, that's going up by 3, that's going up by 3, that's going up by 3. So I know that my first part of my equation is y equals 3x going to look at the 0. The 0 is minus 3. This minus is important. Before I was saying plus, but now I'm going to have to say minus because it's a negative 3. So I'm going to say minus 3. So y equals 3x minus 3. That is the equation that goes with this line. So for today's assignment, I'm going to ask you to do a couple of things. I want you to work on 2 Desmos activities. One is where you're going to find the equation. I'm going to give you a graph. I'm going to give you the start of a table. You're going to fill in the table and then use that table to find the equation. And the second thing I'm going to have you do is more of a fun activity where you're going to play around with some equations and some graphs, and you're going to race some turtles. So make sure that you do both assignments today and have fun.